Hello everyone and welcome to today's kitchen session supporting student nurses in practice. Today's session will be delivered by Julie Sutton, a senior lecturer in acute adult care. My name is Mark, I'm a higher education advisor here at the University of Chester. I'm here along with Claire and Vicky today, who are both helping behind the scenes. I'll start by reassuring you that your video and audio are not shared at all during the course of this session. I will shortly be handing over to Julie, but I just want to go through a couple of things before I do. During the presentation, you'll be able to ask questions in the chat function on the right-hand side of the screen. You can ask questions anonymously if you wish. You just need to have ticked the box to say that you wish to be anonymous. You can also like questions that other people may have asked and answer any questions that Julie may ask during her presentation by responding in the chat function. So Vicky will be asking Julie the questions today at the end of the session. So I think that's everything for now. So over to you, Julie.
Hello everyone, so my name's Dr. Julie Sutton and I'm a senior lecturer in practice learning at the University of Chester, and I work in the Faculty of Health and Social Care and I teach on the pre-registration nursing programme. So this is a 3-year programme and it will prepare you to become either an adult nurse, a children's nurse, a learning disability nurse or a mental health nurse. So there's 4 fields of nursing which you could potentially go into. So obviously you need to decide that before you apply to come to the University of Chester. So today I'm going to be talking to you about practice learning on the pre-registration nursing programme and talk to you a little bit about what you can expect around the clinical placements that you'll be sent on, expectations around those, and how the University of Chester supports you in practice. You know, what is our unique selling point really in terms of supporting students when you leave us and go into a placement, okay? So a little bit about my background first. So my background is in learning disability nursing, which isn't as well known really as the other fields of nursing. And I have done my career in terms of supporting people with learning disabilities with their specific health needs in a range of settings, such as assessment and treatment settings, residential care, or in the community as a community learning disability nurse, supporting people with learning disabilities with health needs such as epilepsy or challenging behaviour or sleep problems, things like that. And it's been a really rewarding career and I've worked in so many different settings, and that is definitely a field of nursing which you might want to explore. Okay, so let's kick off then. So the University of Chester student nurse, okay, this is the uniform, very smart uniform that you will be given when you start and before you go out onto placement. So when you start the University of Chester, we don't throw you straight onto placement, okay? We ease you into practice and we gently prepare you for your professional role, okay? So what we will do before we send you out into practice is we will do lots of sessions on theory modules or mandatory skills training, such around skills such as moving and handling, infection and prevention and control, taking baseline observations of the patient or the service user. And we'll spend a lot of time reassuring you about what to expect before you go out onto placement, okay? You know, it's natural to feel anxious. I mean, I think the amount of placements that you do over the 3 years, it's like starting a new job every time you go into a brand new setting, whether that be with a health visiting team, with the district nurses, or on an acute medical ward in a hospital. Okay, you've got to get to know all the staff again and start to know all the procedures of the ward. And then after about 4 to 6 weeks, when your placement starts to come to an end, you come back to the university to do some theory modules and then you go out on another placement. So we know that it's quite stressful being on a placement. So that's why we put in an extra layer of support for you, and that is in terms of a lecturer in practice learning team, of which I'm part. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in a minute, but what you can see here is a geographical spread really of all the pre-registration nursing placements which we offer at Chester. So you can see in the green circle there, that's Chester. But you would tend to be placed really, there's lots of different places there where you can, that are highlighted in red, you know, those are the different trusts or the private and voluntary organisations in which you can be placed. Okay, so you can see some of them as far as Crewe, Wallasey, the Wirral, or as far as Warrington as well. So you know, there's a real strength in that in terms of there's a wide variety of placements, but there is, you know, potentially quite a bit of travel there as well. Okay. So this is the variety of places which you can expect to be placed when you actually go on into placement. Okay. So your placements can be in an acute setting in a hospital. It could be in a GP surgery in a primary care setting with a practice nurse, say for example. You could be placed within a hospice, so looking at end-of-life care. You could be in a private organisation, which is a nursing home or an elderly mentally infirm unit. You could be based with a special school or with some school nursing staff as well. You know, another setting there, you know, to look at. Residential homes for people with learning disabilities or mental health issues, okay? And we've also got child and adolescent mental health teams there, okay? And also community settings. So you can see, you know, there's a wide range of places in which a nurse from whichever field you go into can potentially work. Now, this Bachelor of Nursing pre-registration nursing programme, a 3-year programme, is validated by the Nursing and Midwifery Council, okay? And your practice or your placements accounts for 50% of your learning. And over 3 years, you'll do 2,300 hours worth of practice. And that equates to 9 placements over a 3-year programme. Between 6 to 12 weeks longer those placements. Sometimes there's 4-week placements as well. Okay, so 9 places to be potentially placed over 3 years, and in that time you get a sense of, you know, where you would absolutely love to work, and you might have your eyes open to a setting which, you know, you've never been to before, you've never thought about, you know, working in a school, or you've never considered working in the community. And you might equally find out, you know, I never want to work in that setting again, you know, it's far too stressful, the pace is too fast, or I don't like that particular team. So you can really, you know, have a bit of a trial run of where you think you could possibly want to work once you qualify as a nurse. So I alluded to earlier this extra level of support which the University of Chester gives to student nurses when they go out into practice. And that comes in the form of a lecturer in practice learning team. So it's a growing team really, and we've been established for 4 years now within the University of Chester. And what we try to do is support you throughout your first year on the first 3 placements, because we know this is a time when students are most likely to pull out, when the reality hits home of, you know, how challenging the shifts can be, how long they can be. You know, it's totally different to being a health support worker. You know, once you're a student nurse on a ward, you know, you are being observed a lot, and more is being expected of you than, you know, a health support worker role. We will be expecting you to apply theory to practice and to explain, why is it that you're taking that blood pressure? What do those different readings actually mean? So rather than just doing the task, you know, people will be asking you all the time, why are you doing that? What's the rationale behind that? What's the research behind that? So it's very demanding, I think, being on placement. So the lecture and practice learning team, we are here to support you. You will be allocated a particular lecture and practice learning, or an LPL, that's our acronym, and we will introduce ourselves. When the pandemic is over, we will be able to come and visit you in at least one of those placements, and I think students have loved that in the past year, to see this friendly face in the university. We do get involved in teaching and running modules as well, face to face. So you will already know us before you go out into practice in most cases. Okay. But even if you things are going well, we still will want to hear from you as a lecturer in practice learning, to think of other ways in which you can get more out of that learning experience when you're in practice. But of course, we're here to support you if you run into any problems with your practice assessors that could teach you whilst you're on placement, or if there's any concerns at all that you have. Okay, so that's our team. We've got Gemma, Paul, Debs, Becky, myself, Sarah, Jackie, Jo, Ali and Catherine. So we're all happy, smiley people, and hopefully, approachable. So another thing, when you come to study at the University of Chester, we ask you to select a base from where you will have your lectures and your exams and assessments. So the main site is at Riverside, Chester, and that's right next to the racecourse and the river. Really beautiful site there. Okay, so that's the biggest site. So potentially, if you were based there, most of your placements would be in Chester. And if you were doing adult nursing, a lot of the placements would be at the Countess. Or you might want to be based, at Maris House, which is on the Wirral. So if you live nearer that end, most of your placements would be around that area. Okay. We also have a base over at Warrington. Okay. And a brand new base at Shrewsbury. So that's just starting shortly as well. Okay. I've got a couple of quotes now for you from previous student nurses when we've asked them to, and we surveyed them on the support that the lecture and practice learning team give them when they're out in practice. And this is what some of them have actually said. So we've got practice visits are comforting as a check-in, and the friendly face is more than welcome during placements, when you can sometimes feel quite alone. So I think it does help to, refocus students, and think, you are part of the University of Chester. We're coming out here to remind you what you are there to do and what your practice competencies are for you to achieve. They found it really helpful in tackling situations with practice supervisors I would otherwise not know how to handle. Great advice and support when needed. So I can think of a couple of personal examples when I've supported students, say for example, if they have got a concern around a safeguarding issue where they felt that care wasn't up to the right standard of quality on a placement, and they felt that this issue needed to be raised outside of the organisation, and they had a confidential conversation with myself to start with and said, I'm really struggling here. I think that this patient has experienced a safeguarding issue. What do I do? How do I escalate this? So, they've really benefited from that support and knowing which policy and procedures to follow, and knowing and being supported in the fact that, of course, a nurse needs courage to raise the alarm bells if things aren't right, okay, because you're in a very privileged position in supporting people at their most vulnerable, and we totally expect you to escalate concerns. But we recognise that that is quite challenging. So the lecture and practice learning team are there to support you with that. Another student said it helped my development in practice, such as building resilience to cope with stress, learning how to communicate better with my practice assessor about my needs. So resilience is a real hot potato at the moment. We know that student nurses can get burnt out very quickly if we've got assignments to do, as well as work doing a night shift or a weekend, doing long days, 12-hour shifts. So it's really important to look after yourself. So we will be checking in with you there, checking that you are, getting the right amount of sleep, making sure that you are healthy and well enough to attend placement, because we know if you are overtired and you are doing too much and not looking after yourself, then actually you might not be safe in practice. So that is really important that you do try and achieve that work-life balance. So I think that's it really. That's it from me, but just really wanted to make sure that you were aware that this extra level of support is there for you at the University of Chester, should you choose to come to us to do your pre-registration nurse education. Okay, over to you.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Julie. I think a lot of people who are watching will be really reassured about the level of support that they get on placement, those that have applied to us and maybe those who are still thinking about applying. And there was also some really good advice in there, that I think some of our probably current students can use as well. So that's brilliant. Thank you. We haven't got any questions in the chat at the moment, but there are a couple of questions that we have from before your session started. So somebody has asked if they can choose where they go on placement. Is there an element of choice at all?
Okay, well, what we try to do over 3 years is ensure that everybody gets some community placement. So whether that's with a health visiting team or a district nursing team or a community learning disability nursing team, but also some acute placements as well, or some placements within a hospital setting. So we do try to mix it up, okay. Certainly in the 3rd year, we do have what's called a negotiated practice experience, where students get the opportunity to choose a place to go on placement. And now, that could be abroad or in a placement which has been sort of regulated by the University of Chester, or it could be that you've got a specialist interest in palliative care and there's a particular hospice that you wanted to go and do a placement at. So there is an option for you in the 3rd year to choose a placement, but we do, as a rule of thumb for your other 8 placements, try to make sure you get a good mix of community and hospital-based placements. And we do try to take account of where you live and if you've got access to a car or not. But sometimes, you may have to travel, over an hour to get to places, to your placement, because sometimes it's quite a pressure on placement capacity, because there's a lot of students in practice at the moment, and we're training a lot of student nurses currently, so so there might not be as much choice as you would hope, as it were. You are going to be put where there is space, so I think hopefully that answers that question.
No, that does answer that question. It's understandable that you want people to have that mixture of experiences, and that actually answers one of the other questions that I had about, how far you expect people to travel, whether you do take into consideration things like whether someone can drive and whether they have their own car. So that's really helpful. And I know another question that I've had, and I know it's something that comes up quite a lot, is can student nurses do paid work as well as work on their placement? Is that something that's possible?
Yeah, so when you're on placement, you're expected to do 37.5 hours for the week, and that can be made up by 3 12-hour long day shifts or 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. And what we would say is that if students want to do a bank or an agency nursing shift which is paid, we just say just to do one more and your days off, but no more than that whilst you're trying to do your 37-hour week, half-hour week placement. Obviously, you must prioritise your placement first and not do a night shift on an agency or nursing, paid work directly before you go on shift on your student nurse placement. So it's being sensible, really, and certainly there'll be more opportunity during the holidays and during the theory blocks for you to do agency or paid nursing work or any other type of work that you'd want to do. But it's a popular choice, really, to do agency or bank nursing, because that, you learn and grow your confidence, really, as well as getting paid. Yeah,
that's great. And is that something that you can do in your first year as well as in maybe your second and third year?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
The Chester actively, will encourage student nurses to go on to the bank or the agency nurse register. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. And have a lot of people done that this year? Because you mentioned during your talk about, that student nurses can burn out quite easily if they're not careful and they don't look after themselves. So, it's not an easy time at the moment in hospitals. Is it something that people have done a lot of this year or not?
We have. And I know a lot of student nurses have helped out during the pandemic. We've all been absolutely fantastic, during this time. What I forgot to mention is currently during the pandemic, the practice don't want us going out visiting students, so we've had to be supporting students online and by phone call and email. But hopefully, we're all going to get vaccinated shortly. Well, I know our team is, so we can start doing face-to-face visits again. But obviously, it's been such an uncertain time over recent months. And but yeah, students are always, have been helping out and have been a massive part to play in this pandemic.
Well, that's good to hear. And I'm sure they've really appreciated the support that you've all given them, even though you're not able to see them face to face. That's brilliant. Well, I haven't got any more questions at the moment, Julie. So I think what we'll do is just hand back to Mark just to wrap things up for the day. So all I'll say is thank you very much for your time. Thanks for all the information you've given us. I know a lot of people find it really useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's it for today's kitchen session. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to Julie for a really interesting presentation. We hope you all enjoyed the session and found it useful. We are running many more kitchen sessions, so do check out the schedule and sign up for any others you're interested in. So just go head across to chester.ac.uk to find out some more information. Thank you.